Can you imagine magic so dark that even followers of Voldemort refuse to cast it? What kind of terrifying power would make a killer throw away their wand or choose prison over using a spell that guaranteed instant victory? The true horror of the dark arts isn't just the death it causes, but the irreversible damage it inflicts on the soul of the wizard who wields it. The unseen price. Dark magic. Too corrupting for the darkest wizard. The dark arts are a spectrum. On one end, you have the common curses and jinxes, nasty but manageable. On the other, you have the unforgivable curses, spells that require a fundamental severance from your own humanity. But then, there is a third secret corner of magic. Spells so utterly depraved, so psychologically shattering, that even the most hardened Death Eaters wouldn't touch them. They weren't feared because they were illegal. They were feared because they were too effective, too corrupting, and fundamentally too easy to destroy yourself with. We already know why the killing curse was avoided. It damages the soul. But what about the other abysses of dark magic? The ones that didn't just risk Azkaban, but guaranteed the loss of the mind? The compulsion of the Imperious Curse. The loss of self. The Imperious Curse? Imperio. It's classified as unforgivable, but unlike Avada Kedavra, it was often preferred by Death Eaters for two cynical reasons. It's highly versatile, and it leaves the caster's soul intact. You can make a foe betray their friends, hand over vital secrets, or commit murder without having to genuinely want them dead yourself. It's the perfect tool for a sociopath who prefers a clean getaway. But the dark wizards who used it frequently understood its insidious price. The curse doesn't just dominate the victim. It also has a profound, corrosive effect on the caster's mind. To successfully cast Imperio and maintain absolute control, you must essentially project your entire will into another person's mind. You are forcing your existence, your deepest desires, onto a living, resisting consciousness. Over time, this constant act of mental domination creates a narcissistic dependence on control. The caster's ego becomes bloated, their self-control erodes, and they begin to believe their will is law, not just over their victims, but over reality itself. It's an addictive power. The euphoria of total control makes the dark wizard unable to function without it. They lose the ability to compromise, negotiate, or even tolerate dissent. They become fragile tyrants, completely reliant on forcing submission. This is why powerful, frequent users of Imperio, like Barty Crouch Jr. or Voldemort, are prone to making spectacular tactical errors. Their need for absolute control blinds them to reality, leading them down a path of increasing cruelty and isolation, making them less cunning and more easily predictable. The victim loses their freedom, but the caster loses their ability to live without tyranny. They become a slave to their own power. The horror of the flesh. Severing curse. Some curses are feared because they are difficult to master. Others, like the flesh-severing curse, are feared because they are terrifyingly simple, and the effects are too much to bear. This curse, rarely mentioned in modern texts, was a gruesome staple of medieval dark magic. With a single, sharp incantation and a quick slashing motion of the wand, the spell causes large, deep ribbons of flesh to instantly peel away from the bone. Not a burn, not a cut, but a molecular detachment that leaves the victim immediately conscious and facing the horror of their own exposed anatomy. The simplicity is what made it monstrous. Unlike curses that require high-level intent, this spell needed only moderate power. It could be deployed rapidly and repeatedly in a battle, turning a simple skirmish into a scene of unmitigated body horror. Dark wizards were often immune to the sight of blood, but they weren't immune to the sheer grotesque inefficiency of this curse. It rarely killed instantly. It caused prolonged, excruciating, and unnecessary agony, leaving victims alive and screaming in shock and unbearable pain while they bled out. The sheer excess of the violence was what shattered the caster. It imprinted an image of absolute, primal suffering onto the mind. Historians recount cases of seasoned dark wizards, masters of torture, who cast the curse once and found themselves haunted by the victim's raw, immediate agony. They couldn't stop the flashbacks, the shaking, the nightmares. It was a curse that proved there is a limit to how much horror a human mind can inflict and absorb before it snaps. The parasite jinx, a slow, contemptible death. Finally, we come to a form of magic so contemptible, so deliberately cruel, that it was seen as beneath even the most chaotic dark lords, the parasite jinx. This isn't about flashy destruction or immediate pain. It's about slow, utter humiliation. The jinx, often targeting rival pure-blood families, caused the victim to become a host for magical parasites that fed on their vitality, slowly draining their health, energy, and even their physical attractiveness. The victim wouldn't die quickly. They would slowly decay, becoming frail, sickly, and utterly repulsive. The reason dark wizards rejected it was not morality, but contempt. They preferred to destroy their enemies with a decisive, brutal show of power. The parasite Jinx was seen as the magic of a coward, petty, slow, and indirect. It was a reflection of the caster's own small-minded spite rather than their grand ambition, a psychological stain that marked the user as utterly petty. For a Death Eater who valued strength and terror, the parasite Jinx was simply too contemptible to be worth the effort. Everyone remembers 19 years later. But what happened in those forgotten years after the Battle of Hogwarts? The secrets of Harry and Ginny's early careers, and the tragic reason Draco Malfoy finally changed his ways. Harry Potter became head of the Auror office at the Ministry of Magic, married Ginny Weasley, and had 3 children, James Sirius, Albus Severus, and Lily Luna, honored with the chocolate frog card. Ron Weasley worked as an Auror for 2 years, then left to co-manage Weasley's Wizard Wheezes with George. Married Hermione Granger and had 2 children, Rose and Hugo, honored with a chocolate frog card. Hermione Granger returned to Hogwarts to finish her education, restored her parents' memories, and built a powerful career at the ministry, eventually becoming Minister for Magic, as seen in Cursed Child. Honored with a chocolate frog card, Ginny Weasley became a professional Quidditch player for the Holyhead Harpies before retiring to raise her family. Later became a respected Quidditch correspondent for the Daily Prophet. Married Harry Potter. Neville Longbottom briefly joined the Auror office before becoming the professor of herbology and head of Gryffindor House at Hogwarts. Married Hannah Abbott. Luna Lovegood became a magizoologist, traveling the world in search of rare magical creatures. Married Rolf Scamander, grandson of Newt, and had twin sons, Lorcan and Lysander. Albus Dumbledore. His portrait remained in the headmaster's office, offering advice. His legacy was honored by Harry, who named his second son Albus Severus. Severus Snape, honored by Harry Potter, who publicly defended his name and ensured his portrait was hung in the headmaster's office. Harry named his son Albus Severus Potter after him. Voldemort, condemned to an eternal, powerless existence in a form of limbo, unable to move on to the afterlife due to his soul's mutilation by Horcruxes. Draco Malfoy made peace with Harry and married Astoria Greengrass, raised his son, Scorpius, to reject the Malfoy family's pure-blood ideology after Astoria's early death. Kingsley Shacklebolt became the Minister for Magic, initiating an era of reform, transparency, and rebuilding, including banning Dementors from Azkaban. Dudley Dursley achieved a fragile reconciliation with Harry, married and had 2 children, maintaining a relationship of polite discomfort with Harry's family. George Weasley continued to run the successful Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, married Angelina Johnson, and had 2 children, Fred, named in honor of his late twin, and Roxanne. Percy Weasley reconciled with his family during the Battle of Hogwarts and resumed his career at the Ministry, rising to head of the Department of Magical Transportation. Arthur Weasley continued working at the Ministry, eventually being promoted to head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Enjoyed becoming a grandfather many times over. Molly Weasley embraced her role as the matriarch of the Weasley clan, doting on her 7 children and 12 grandchildren. Rubeus Hagrid remained at Hogwarts as keeper of keys and grounds, and care of magical creatures professor, never married, staying loyal to Hogwarts and the Potter family. Minerva McGonagall became the decorated and respected headmistress of Hogwarts, awarded the Order of Merlin, First Class, and immortalized on a chocolate frog card. Dolores Umbridge, arrested, tried, and sentenced to a lifetime in Azkaban for her crimes committed under Voldemort's regime. Lucius Malfoy avoided Azkaban by offering inside information about Death Eaters, but lost all social prestige. His post-war life was marked by bitterness and disgrace.